you're talking about like that earlier time of the year and like the forbs and the plants and all
Hmm.
that stuff. You pay a lot of attention to those types of
Yeah,
things, and that's the hardest thing in the big woods is, most people look at it as if there's no acorns, what do I do?
yeah,
And there's so much more to it.
exactly. And the thing is, there's places that don't have any acorns. I mean, you go to the Adirondacks, there's no acorns. There's no oak trees up there. That's like I was at 4 million acres. There's no acorns. So the deer don't eat them. So you gotta find different stuff. But they have black cherry.
Yep.
They have beech. So you can find that, and then they're digging for ferns. They're eating old man's beard on the side of the trees. Like they eat weird stuff, like a lot of mushrooms off logs and stuff. Like anywhere in the big woods, the acorns is only like probably 10% of their diet. You know,
And
even in the fall when the acorns are dropping, if you cut one open and look in its stomach, it's not all just acorns in there. There's a
no.
lot of other stuff they're eating.
Yeah, and it's like and acorns are like when they have them, it's like their nice dinner they go to, but they still got to
Yeah.
eat other food throughout the day to get to that point. And
Hmm.
and I'd say 80% of the areas I hunt have zero oak trees, and but I've always in the early season typically went to places that had oak trees and tried to capitalize on it. But it's like I've come to learn it's like I honestly I like hunting oak trees because it's so every year's so different and the deer do different things depending on
Hmm.
what trees are dropping and everything. Where areas that don't have oaks, I think are more repeatable every
Yeah.
year after
Yeah.
year
They're just
versus
they're
that.
just there because the habitat's right.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and like there was I had a couple notes written down like you were talking about jewelweed, which that's something you find
Hmm.
in Pennsylvania and some other
Yep.
places, like the importance of that is that
Yep.
one of those plants.
Yeah. That's in like September time frame until
Hmm.
it browns up about right around October. They stop hitting it. Is the jewelweed they stop hitting, but like September they run on jewelweed really hard. But in the summertime they really eat it too, but it's a water plant. It sucks up a lot of water and it needs to grow where there's moisture in the soil. you know you can identify where it's growing just by the habitat.
Yeah,
Like, okay, it needs that certain soil to grow. But in like river bottom situations, that's like critical. you know or in summer patterns when you're trying to get a buck on camera in Pennsylvania or something in the big woods, you put it down along swamps and beaver ponds and stuff like that, and the big marshy meadows and stuff like that
yep,
on the edge. Like that's that's like you get that swing in their whole core. you
yeah.
know
There was a spot that I had it on a scrape, but I didn't realize that there was. I don't even know what the type of grass is. I should know it, but maybe it even was jewelweed that was behind. I'm trying to picture it, but I had a camera. I was on the edge of this corner of this clear cut, and there's a big hemlock with a scrape under it. And
hmm
the deer were laying in the hemlocks and the cooler stuff and coming out, and they were feeding this cut. And well, I had my camera on video mode, and I watched them just go over and eating these grasses. And what it was like a lower lying area that was kind of swampy, marshy, not
hmm
not like a ton of water or anything, but just wet enough that it grew these grasses, and they just pounded it through August and September. It was
hmm
crazy how much they were eating that.
Yeah. If it wasn't jewelweed, it was some kind of other lily or something that they found in there.
Yeah,
Might have
yeah,
been like Canada daylily or violets, something like that. But that all that stuff has more nutrition than a food plot. That's more nutritional than some food plot blends. So that's what they want. When they need to grow antlers or they need to produce milk for fawns or something, they're going to be looking for that high value food source.
hmm
Because a buck really is like he's a slave to his antlers 90% of the year. He has to eat quality food in order to maintain himself. That's why those deer in the real big remote woods don't always have the biggest racks, is because
Yeah.
it's hard to find that. So when you can find that rare food source in the big woods, that's like a gem. That's a key spot, and like the biggest, most mature deer is going to be around that food source. Because he can use that for growing his antlers and becoming dominant and being the boss. He needs that.
Yeah, it's shifted my whole approach of I used to look for the most roughest terrain in the most remote areas thinking I was going to find the
Mhm.
biggest deer, and maybe that could be possible, but but it has to also have the vegetation diversity. Like
Yeah.
that's now my number one thing when I'm e-scouting an area is like what
Yep.
has multiple things that come together here that can provide food, bedding, cover, all that stuff
Mhm.
in one area.